Hello, welcome back to What She Said Sports. All right. I hope everybody had a good afternoon, settling in for the evening. Hit the like button on your way in. All right. So if you saw the thumbnail, or at least the caption, you know we're talking about collusion, and you know that we are talking about the implications today. The implications, what it means that this ruling has been quote unquote leaked. There's a dispute on whether or not it was leaked or accidentally, intentionally disseminated. In January, the NFL was found guilty of collusion, but there were no damages. And it was little reported on, and the document was to remain confidential. Well, somewhere in the last 48 hours, the document that was confidential in January has suddenly become available. And it doesn't say the NFL was found guilty. It says they almost colluded. And I'm like, okay, now this is a game of wordplay here, right? The NFL was found guilty of collusion, but there were no damages. And when you hear people say there was no damages, people are taking that to mean the NFL is innocent. No. The fact that the NFL was found guilty of collusion and there was no damages is like being a little pregnant. You either pregnant or you're not. You're guilty of collusion or you're not. You're guilty of collusion to award damages. So you're guilty first. And you either have to award damages or you don't. So the 60-page document has revealed text message which show you that the teams were working together. There's 32 ball clubs that are supposed to be competing for talent to get to the top, to get to the Super Bowl. But that's not how it works. They compete for talent. Um, and I mean, they don't compete for talent. They work together about how much players get paid. It came out that there's this whole management council. And my question is, why are we just now hearing that the NFL has a management council? Thanks to the What She Said sports media team, this council been around since the 70s, the 60s, like a long time, and nobody's heard of it. It's technically a group of lawyers that are supposed to deal with labor relations, collective bargaining agreement, etc. It's supposed to be, and from what I understand, a springboard to your legal career. And a lot of lawyers leave this management council and go on to the government, to work for the government, right? To go on to other leagues like baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer. It's supposed to be as influential and impactful as one of the best law firms in the country. Now, the way I have seen the NFL do business, those two don't go together. There's no way you have the most powerful lawyers out here that move on to the upper echelons in the legal industry, in the most coveted employment arenas, and y'all conducting business like this. Sloppy. So the document that people are talking about now, that two people, and that's who we're going to talk about today, two people put out, right? So there's these two people, both of them are really supposed to be NFL analysts, right? One has his own podcast, well, the other one does too. But they come from that journalism world, which they try to hold themselves out to be different than the talking heads that you see on some of these podcasts, right? Or some of these platform shows. They don't consider themselves to be athletes. They're journalists and they like to distinguish, which means they're saying they're educated, right? So uh the two guys in question both popped up on my radar previously, right? I know who Pablo Torre is because he had a podcast with Bomani Jones, who was just hired by Yahoo Sports, who has a negative slant towards Shedeur. Bomani himself had a negative commentary when Coach Prime left Jackson State. He was calling out Coach Prime, saying, "Oh, you said you were going to do this at HBCUs, that and the other, and now you're leaving." I'm like, Bomani. And he's talking about he went to HBCU. I'm like, and we learned this when? Now? So you went to Clark and we just now know. You got all this stuff hanging up in your office and nobody knows you went to HBCU. But because Coach Prime is moving on, you have something to say. So that's who Yahoo Sports hired. That guy. So you see the connection? Yahoo Sports negative slant towards Shedeur, hire Bomani Jones negative about Coach Prime. You see the association? So let me show you the association between Mike Florio and Pablo Torre. I just told you 2 weeks ago. I did a video about it. How Mike Florio wrote a piece on Shedeur Sanders, and it was negative. He did a hit job. And we talked about this yesterday. I told you that he was like, well, he should have had an agent. That's why he was pushed down in the draft, and the agent would have helped him navigate the pre-draft process. You know what I said? Oh, so Mike Florio wasn't in the rooms laughing and talking with Roger Goodell. That's what it is. So, and I said what? When you're in those rooms, when the commissioner is laughing with you and putting his hand on your shoulder, and y'all talking about your brother recording, and the commissioner is telling you he's worried about your father, you don't need no damn agent. They know exactly who you are. That's for people who need help. Did the agent help Travis? No. Who did? Coach Prime. He didn't need no agent. So they trying to say Coach Prime wasn't influential enough to help his own son. But we just saw him be influential to help Travis get his contract on a Sunday. Yeah. So that's BS, right? So Mike Florio, we're gonna talk about the things he said about Shedeur. We're gonna talk about the reporting that Pablo Torres reported about Shedeur, and then I'm gonna let you decide why it is those two disseminated the document. And there is question about, is that the authentic document? Because what they are saying is a contradiction to what took place in January. That's a whole nother situation. But we're gonna talk about the messenger, right? So, you know, people always want to know, they want to know why. Like, why is this coming out now? I told y'all earlier today that I was looking through and I was perusing information, and I said they knew this was coming. In April, before the draft, remember, this document was, the ruling was January. The document was supposedly sealed, for less of a better term, marked confidential. Nobody could access it in January. In April, before the draft, I guess this is when Russ moves on from Pittsburgh to New York. The head of Bountygate, Sean Payton, decides to reflect on his career with Russ, his time with Russ. And they're like, oh, he's reflecting about his time with Russ and, his thoughts about Russ going to another team. I'm like, did you ask Mike Tomlin what the hell he thought about Russ going to New York? Why the hell are you asking Sean Payton when you saw what happened there? Because when you read the 60-page document, a lot of it is about Russ and how he was treated in Denver. You see the pattern that's starting to form? Everybody get their ducks in a row, right? Everybody's getting their ducks in a row. Who remembers us talking about the NCAA settlement? When people weren't really talking about it, it was toward the end of last year. I kept saying you have until January 31st to file a claim. I actually went through Colorado Buffs and looked at the players who were around at the time and named people. We talked about the remedy of the case being what? That the schools will be allowed to pay players for the first time, right? And that there was a pool of money, about $22 million, and that Colorado started getting it together as if the ruling was already handed down. They moved in the direction of what the ruling would be. They hired an NIL director for football. They did away with those NIL collectives. So Colorado didn't wait till the ruling was handed down. And we were like, well, how did they know the ruling would be what it is? How you think they know? These people know people. They got general counsel. Lawyers know judges. Influential people know each other, just like in this situation. So any day now, just like a pregnant woman who's in her 10th month, the ruling could come down on this case that was launched after the NFL draft, right? By about the way the NFL does business. After seeing what 7.3 million people were lured to see, Shedeur be publicly humiliated, right? A whole campaign orchestrated. So how you think they know it's getting ready to go down? That's if it is. They must be expecting something, because why now? Right? So that's the question. Why now? So if we get within the next 30 days some type of ruling on this case that we haven't heard yet, then they already knew. Because look how long Colorado been in position waiting for the ruling that was just handed down. They were in position in January. The ruling just came out probably last month, the beginning of this month. What's that? 5, 6 months? That's a lot of leeway. So people know people, right? There's a general counsel in the NFL. They just basically saying that the whole management council is supposed to be these top-notch lawyers to work on labor relations. So that's their scope, labor relations. So let's turn to Pablo and Mike Florio. Okay. So do y'all know the definition of collusion before we get going? See, people want to overthink this. It's simple, right? Collusion is a secret, like I guess you could say a secret, or I guess like an agreement in secret about something that's illegal or legal, but you make a secret. So that's like everybody decide to take Shedeur off the board and don't tell him. And don't tell the people that we coming to watch the draft for Shedeur. They did that in secret. That's what collusion is. They did it to harm him, right? Why you didn't call him? Because you didn't want him to know you was taking him off the board, right? So that's what collusion is. People want to make it more than what it is. It's just it says it's a secret or illegal cooperation, especially in order to cheat or deceive others. So that they want to cheat him? Well, seemingly so. They devalued him and they cheated him out of what, 40, $50 million to deceive. They deceived Shedeur Sanders by not telling Shedeur Sanders that they took him off the draft board. They also locked him out of the first round. So they locked him out of the first round. That's collusion. Okay. Then they took him off the draft boards because Boomer Esiason told us the owners took him off the draft board. Right. That's two. They colluded against him twice. Twice on the first day of the draft. So is there collusion? Yes. Pablo Torres says, no, it's not collusion. It's just a power dynamic. That's who's sharing this document. He also said that teams were weary of Shedeur. Now get this right. I'm not going to paraphrase. I'm going to just read this outright. Hold on one second. Pablo Torre, on his own podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, discussed how Shedeur Sanders' draft stock fell in 2025 in the draft, suggesting that it was less about collusion and more about the power dynamics and risk aversion among NFL teams. He pointed out that teams were hesitant to give Shedeur Sanders the special treatment he seemed to deserve. Let's go back. Let's go back. There's a whole lot of subjectivity here. First of all, where he get this from? That's who is putting the statement out. This guy. Okay. It said he discussed how Shedeur Sanders' draft stock fell, which is his opinion, suggesting that it was less about collusion and more about power dynamics and risk aversion amongst NFL teams. So he say it's not collusion, it's about power. What did Boomer Esiason tell us? They said take him off the board. Oh, you can't get no plainer than that. You can't get no plainer than that, and that's what you put out after this. After that draft, that's what you say. That's who's disseminating the document. You see? You see how this association works? It said he pointed out, talking about Pablo, that teams were hesitant to give Shedeur Sanders the special treatment he seemed to expect. Time out right there. He said he pointed out that teams, underscore teams, what teams? What teams said Shedeur Sanders? What teams pointed this out? That they what teams you talking about? He said teams were hesitant to give Sanders the special treatment. So if they were hesitant, he knows what teams. He knows what teams were hesitant, right? So somebody need to subpoena him. That's who need to be subpoenaed. What teams were hesitant? Because you ain't saying. Are you making this up? His credibility is being called into question. What teams told you this? Because guess what? All the teams on the record had all good things about Shedeur. Oh, they tried it with Pittsburgh, but they got cleaned up real fast. Mike Tomlin had nothing but good things to say about Shedeur. What teams were hesitant? Since you know, what teams? Saying that they were hesitant to give Sanders the special treatment. Get this. He seemed to expect. So that's like somebody looking at your face and saying, oh, she not having a good day. How you know what the hell kind of day I'm having by looking at my face? So they trying to read Shedeur. They said what he seemed. That's who's disseminating the information. So for people who want to know why now, look at the messengers and how both of them are negative about Shedeur. And then go right to that collusion case, which was about what in the draft? Collusion against Shedeur Sanders. While some speculated about collusion, Tory argued it was more about teams perceiving him as not being good enough to demand the special treatment. So first of all, they insinuating he asking for something special. Remember that cold welcoming in Cleveland? So they insinuating he asking for something. They perceive that he's asking for something that he did not ask for. That don't even fit his personality. So they use all of this subjective talk. According to Pablo Torre, all of this subjective talk is why he was pushed down in the draft, but it ain't collusion. There is not one fact here. Not one. This is who's sending out the information after the ruling was made public in January. It said teams were hesitant to give Sanders the special treatment he seemed to expect, given his reputation in the Deion Sanders effect, in quotes. What the hell is that? So, his reputation. What is his reputation? I'm gonna need you to speak on that, sir. What reputation does he have? All we know is he a hard worker and he a good guy. And he loves the game of football. Whenever you see him, he got a football in his hand. Him and Travis. We think he pretty damn smart. He not shacked up with nobody. He ain't beating on nobody. He not stealing nothing. He not snorting nothing. What reputation is that, sir? See, people like this need to be subpoenaed and to answer for the BS that they disseminate and push. So the teams say he not good enough to demand the treatment he demanded. So he either seemed to wanted it or he demanded it. Which one is it? This is who's putting out the information. Two people with negative commentary about Shedeur Sanders. One said it ain't collusion. So let's take a look at what the other one said. So we just talked about Pablo Torre. Now let's talk about the other guy, Florio, even though I just did a video on him. Okay, it said Mike Florio reported on Shedeur Sanders' NFL draft process and his subsequent experience with the Cleveland Browns. So let's talk about the points from Florio. Shedeur Sanders' approach to the draft process. Florio reported that an NFL general manager felt, keyword felt, Shedeur Sanders approached the draft process as if he were being recruited by NFL teams. What the hell does that mean? Rather than being interviewed and evaluated by them. So now, let's get this straight, right? How many times had those scouts been to Colorado? How many interviews did Shedeur Sanders have with these teams? An NFL general manager. Which one? You see why he need to be subpoenaed? Which general manager told you that? Is it the one with the Ole Miss connection to the New York Giants? Is that the one? I bet that's the one. See, when people say an NFL general manager and they don't give you a name, one, they could be lying. And two, they all could be sharing the same damn story by one organization. And because so many different outlets are parroting the same information, you think it's a lot. But it's already been proven there's only one organization that defames Shedeur. How much you want to bet it was the general manager of the New York Giants? It said his lack of having an agent. Shedeur not having an agent, Florio suggests Sanders not having an agent contributed to his draft push, as an agent could have guided him on how to navigate the pre-draft process and understand the expectations of NFL teams. Well, let's see. Several teams at the Shrine Bowl asked him not to work out, right? So they knew he was a first round high draft prospect, right? We already can establish that. One of them was who? The Cleveland Browns. Why? Because he was their choice for their franchise QB. These people interviewed this young man all of these times, the same teams, except for the Cowboys. I think it was the Cowboys. I know it was Cleveland, and it was two other teams. And then there's all the interviews that took place at the combine. And then there's all the private interviews. But then there's 2 years of scouting. At least at CU. I don't know if they went to Jackson State, but there's 2 years of scouting, running up and down to scouting. And I did hear the podcast episode today with Eric Jackson and Harry from TLP. Shout out to What She Said Sports Media Team for sending me the links to the video. I left a comment. Harry liked it. It was a great interview. One of the things that I took away was that Eric Jackson said he was requesting scouting information as to what scouts were there when during a particular time period. I'm like, now that's good. Because now we get to see, because we already know scouts go out there. We know 31 NFL scouts and executives were at the first game. We know they go out there for every practice. What is Coach Prime's motto? The way you practice is the way you play. What did they say about DJ McKinney when he first got there? He made him some money in practice. That's who's putting this information out. This is the other guy. He got pushed down to 144 because he didn't have an agent. I want to know who had an agent and who didn't. This is the same kind of BS that was happening at the combine. Oh, Shedeur not working out. Cam Ward didn't work out. Caleb Williams didn't work out. A lot of people didn't work out. Travis Hunter didn't work out. They chose to beat up on Shedeur. It's called nitpicking. You looking for something negative. You don't have anything. So you're going to take something the size of lint and you're going to hold it up and try to get people to agree with you. Because he didn't have an agent. When you're in those rooms with Roger Goodell laughing and talking, when you're at this celebrity NFL game and you're a participant, you don't need an agent for a what? A non-negotiable contract. You don't need an agent. So that's a lie. That's just something to say. This is the other guy who's putting the information out there. So if you want to know why, look at the source. If you want to know why now, look at the source. It's not a coincidence they have the same negative commentary. One talking down Collusion, the other talking down Shedeur's personality and parroting what the New York Giants have said. All of that entitlement speech, that is right out of the New York Giants. And yes, the owners used it to collude against Shedeur and take him off the board. So they both wrong. His speeding incidents. Now, this is what he's saying about Shedeur's speeding incidents after he already did a hit job on him. Florio has discussed Sanders' recent speeding tickets, noting that they could be seen as unnecessary distractions that detract from the work Sanders has been putting in with the Browns. So what he's trying to say is these are distractions that's going to take away from his good work with Cleveland. Why? They know what happened in the draft. Weren't they there? Weren't they? What did Andrew Berry say on day 3? When the reporter asked him what did he think when he got to work on day 3 and Shedeur was there, he said, we're going to see how far he fall. They know what they put him through. They know they set him up to fail. They know they trying to stress him out. And you see, nobody talks about what Shedeur has had to endure and the negative impact that could have. You notice nobody has said that. It said, while acknowledging the offenses of the parking tickets are minor, Florio emphasizes that they will put Sanders under increased scrutiny, and his future behavior will determine whether the incident becomes a forgotten footnote or a regrettable part of his rookie year. A regrettable part of his rookie year? No, we ain't regretting that. We regretting having to be lured to the goddamn draft and watch them try to publicly lash him. That's what the hell should be regrettable. You see, they don't want to talk about what they did to him, but they want to call him out for a goddamn speeding ticket after they done stressed him out. His father done lost 15 to 20 pounds. I'm sure that's weighing on his mind. Cam Newton did a podcast today. Somebody sent me the link. Thank you. Told me about it. Thank you. Made me aware of it. Thank you. About how distracted he was driving after his grandmother died because he was so stressed. He had 2 accidents. Damn near seemingly in the same day or the same week. We all know what stress can do to the mind. But they don't want to acknowledge that they put him under stress. No, so they get 2 people out here. One just did a hit job on him about the draft. The other one is over here saying, oh, no, it's not collusion. No, it's collusion. And the fact that he can still keep his focus and go out here and ball out in a toxic environment. And now they want to blame him because he's negatively impacted by what's happened to his father. His father's health is suffering because of what they did to his son. I mean, after all, Roger Goodell did say, I'm worried about your father. And then look what happened. So he knew, didn't he? One could infer that he likely knew what was going to happen. But he couldn't tell Shedeur because what they did to Coach Prime was actually done to his son. And they wasn't going to tell Shedeur, or you're going to see what we do to you to your face. That's cowardly. And then he looked away. So Mike Florio and Pablo Torre are both doing hit jobs on Shedeur and both putting out this document to do 2 things. Make you believe it wasn't collusion even after it was found the NFL was guilty of collusion. And the other thing is they want you to believe that the owners didn't take him off the board, but the management council did. The management council deals with labor issues. This ain't no labor issue. He ain't even worked there yet. So throw that shit out the window. If you look at the roles and responsibilities, the owners have the day-to-day. That's who said take him off the board. Did you hear? Did anybody hear Boomer Esiason say, the management committee say take him off the board? Because that's not what happened. The management committee gets told what to do. They are a buffer. They don't make no damn decisions without the owner. You're not about to sit up here and affect my $10 billion valuation because you want to do something. As much as Jerry Jones is his own GM and instrumental in his team, you really think a management council going to tell him what to do? Hell no. Did the management council tell the New York Giants not to fumble Saquon Barkley? No, we saw that conversation. The owner walked right into the GM's office and said, well, where are we with the Saquon Barkley thing? You know, I'm not going to be able to sleep if we lose Saquon. And what happened? They lost Saquon. Did he fire the man? No. And that's why they in the situation they in right now. He should have fired him then. I didn't see no management council. So while it does exist, it is supposed to be about labor relations. And Mike Florio coming out and throwing it out there is basically putting something in the air and the judge saying, strike that from the jury. He said, I just don't understand why you would have a management council tell the owners what to do. I'm like, play in somebody else's face. You go play in somebody else's face. They ain't telling nobody shit. You see how these owners are. They are incestuously close. Ain't nobody telling Jerry Jones what the hell to do. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did anybody tell? Did you see the management council in there telling the New York Giants owner, don't worry about Saquon, we'll take care of it. Did he tell the GM what to do? No. That went straight from the owner to the GM's ears, and he ignored it. And yet he still has a job. Just like Dabo. And title came right off of his mouth. And he still has a job. But they don't want to talk about that. But then they done fired their scouts. CYA. So if you want to know why now, look at the messengers and their commentary about Shedeur. And there's your answer. Pablo Torre. No, it's not collusion. It's a power dynamic. Collusion is straightforward. No need to overthink it or try to dress it up. It is what it is. They colluded not once, but at least twice. And the other guy. Dragging Shedeur from here to hell for everything. Throwing out. Why would you have a management council tell you what to do? You can't make decisions for yourself? Nice try, buddy. No. We've seen enough to know ain't nobody telling Jerry Jones a damn thing. Nobody told the owner of the Giants anything. Nobody told Haslam a damn thing. They do what they want to do, and they use the management council as a buffer so they don't have to come off of their yachts and deal with grievances and labor relations. Shedeur didn't work there yet. So when they attached a waiver wire to his name, his email, with his phone number, they were saying, no matter where you get drafted, we gonna cut you. Let me see you do it. Nice try, guys. But you got to get up a little earlier than that to fool me. So essentially, these two were sent out to try to dissuade public opinion, as if this is tried in the court of public opinion. It's not tried by arbitrators, so nice try. It's going to be tried in court. What they want? The judge who's listening and has a ruling to say, oh no, it's not, it's frivolous, and kick it out based on what these two have going on? Because there's a reason why they putting this in the atmosphere, and none of us have the right to vote. None of us are on a jury, are we? So why are you telling us? This ain't new information. But they playing word games. These two messengers have both done hit jobs on Shedeur. It's not collusion. He said, she said. Nice try, fellas. Terrence said, it's getting good. He watching TV. He said, but what she said, sports is coming on. So Terrence has said, this is hilarious. He said, dang, black love is getting good. These couples inspire me to get married one day. It said, but what she said, sports is coming on. So LOL, that's hilarious. Thank you, thank you. Hey brother, how you doing? Gracie, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? It said, good evening, everybody. Hey Chad, how you doing? Queen T, welcome back. Hey, what she said, how you doing, Crowley? How you doing? Blessings, everybody. Peter, how you doing? Word salad. There you go, Peter. Word salad. That's exactly what it is. Word salad. Brother said, I don't trust Pablo, Tori, or Mike Florio. They on my do not recommend list. I can see why. Boomer Esiason on my do not recommend list as well. He was very jealous of Coach Prime when they were at CBS together. See, there go that history. Hey, Blue Moon, welcome back. How you doing? Answer me this. If Shedeur is entitled, what the hell is Arch Manning? Thank you. Thank you. No, see, they want the rules to be different. See, the NFL is trying its best to establish or reestablish or take out the closet Jim Crow. That's what they're trying to do. You can do this, but you can't. Right? And I tell you, all of this goes back to taking in racism out the end zone. It goes back to that, right? And I don't think you had to fight them to do it. Like Target, they were too easy to do it. But you see what's going on with Target. right? The NFL is not above reproach when it comes to the fans revolting against them as soon as the fans catch on. Subjective, no proof. This is developing. This is a developing, yep, audit. It says no talent base. Right. They don't have nothing you heard these guys say were based on facts. But they want to put out a general manager said this. Okay. This is why people like Mike Florio and Pablo Torre need to be subpoenaed. Because who told you this? And then you subpoena enough people and it goes back to the New York Giants, then that tell you who need to sell their team, who need to be forced to sell their team and go to a public company structure like the Green Bay Packers. That's the remedy for that. Arch Manning is not pro ready. They will lose the first game at Ohio State. Oh, okay. Is that who they play first? It said, nope, the only ones who could have pulled, hold on, that could have pulled. Oh, you talking about the hold on one second. A lot of comments. Give me a second to get back. Subjective, no proof. This is developing. It said, okay. Why said, hey, why, how you doing? It says, note the only ones who could have pulled that spectacle of a draft off was the owners. Right. That's why no GM or coach will get fired. Right. There you go. It said the general manager and the coach of the New York Giants will be fired. And the Dart pick, they will be the fall guys for the horrible season. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens out there with Russ. It said they sure did. And the Browns were one of them. Yep. It is rumored that the man wearing the Ole Miss sweatshirt is dating the New York Giants daughter. I'm not surprised because that's what I said. I said, oh, that must be her boyfriend. Because who else is that close to the situation other than a cousin, a son, you know what I'm saying? Because see, and I heard Harry say this, and if Harry ever see this video, and y'all should let him know, Harry thinks that the Ole Miss sweatshirt guy is the son of the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator. No, no. See, that's how they are confusing people. And if you look at AI, it will also tell you that. So it's amazing to me how when something happens with the NFL, AI is immediately fed misinformation. As if we all just rely on AI. And the people that don't probably not looking this up no way. I hate to tell them, but the people, and they probably do have an audience that just believe anything. But that's not everybody. And some people have clearly learned that that's not how you function because people will lie to your face. Right? So right now, if you go out there, they talk about the defensive coordinator's son. I said, now, if something happens to that young man because they are feeding AI misinformation and people think it's him, that's when it's all going to blow up because they are protecting the people on the New York Giants side of it. Why? Why do they deserve protection if they wrong? He clearly heard some things. He clearly was in the rooms where they're talking about things that should be executive level and higher. Why are you scapegoating the defensive coordinator's son when we clearly see that somebody connected to Ole Miss through the New York Giants did it? And now that's why you have to go back and challenge. Did the defensive coordinator's son have anything to do with it other than he was on camera? And how they all get together? Whose house were they at? Somebody said there was a dorm room. I'm like, no, because no. Unless they went up to Berry College, because that is on the East Coast. But that meant the guy was part of the New York Giants crew. Aren't they on the East Coast? Not too far from New Jersey? All of these people are connected. In fact, the middle name for the defensive coordinator's son, Jax, is spelled like Jackson's Dart's name. I'm like, are they family? Because you know, family names, right? You know, you get a family. Oh, I like the way I'm gonna use that for my middle name. Jackson Dart first name is the defensive coordinator's son's middle name. But I think it might be Jax, just like it's Jaxon. So there's a connection somewhere. There's connection. And it wouldn't surprise me because of the nepotism, right? Oh, get so and so get Stephanie husband the job in Atlanta. Yeah. They'll move down to Atlanta. They lied on Atlanta because Coach Prime played there. They want so badly to make you believe that this is about Coach Prime. Coach Prime is the cloak, the tent covering the abuse and the reason for the abuse his son is taking. And nobody is going to ever want to say out loud, it's because he's black and we don't want the majority of our starting quarterbacks to be black. We don't want to turn on the TV every Sunday and see two black quarterbacks playing. We don't want to see another Super Bowl with two black quarterbacks in the conference championships with four black quarterbacks. That's what they disrupted. 17-32. They did all of that to stop it in the draft. And they did. Now they got to stop it in the season. See, when you have a lot of variables to control, it becomes uncontrollable. And you can't control every single thing because you cannot plan for the unexpected. See, this 60-page document coming out, the people that they had as the messengers, there's an unexpected coming from that. There are people looking at that, knowing what we just talked about, who they are, how they using a word salad. And they must be setting us up for something. And it shows you the extent, once again, what they are willing to go through to carry out an event. See, when you tell one lie, you got to tell another one. They said Shedeur wasn't good, right? He out here balling out in Cleveland. He the best quarterback there is. Now, how do I stop him there? I don't give him as many reps. I don't give him first team reps. So if I do, I limit them to a few. So when it's time to pick a starter, I get to stand on the excuse. Just like in the draft, the excuse was his dad. Now his dad ain't nowhere around. And they doing the same thing they did in the draft. That's how you know it was a lie in the damn draft. Coach Prime is not nowhere around, and they still trying to hold Shedeur back from QB1. That's how you know Coach Prime was a scapegoat and collateral damage. Do you see him in Cleveland? No. That's how you know all of that Coach Prime effect with the draft and Coach Prime was a lie. Because they doing the same thing, playing keep away. They locked them out of the first round because first round draft picks as QBs are starters. They don't want him to start. So now you see they got their way in the draft. Now they got to go over here in Cleveland and clamp down, hold him back, stand on the excuse he didn't get enough reps. We can't let him start. They better hope don't nobody get hurt. Because if everybody get hurt, guess who's going to be QB1 despite their bullshit? Shedeur Sanders. Let me see you fight God, because that's who you fight. Because you keep trying, and he keeps elevating. So nice try for the guys who talked about a council that people didn't know existed, who really just deals with labor relations, but they want to muddy it up and make you think, oh, that's who tell the owners what to do. Yeah, just look at Jerry. Nobody telling Jerry Jones nothing. Hell, his coaches can't tell him nothing. I believe that this plan was inspired by the NFL Management Council and brought into the owners who issued the directives of the GMs and head coaches. Let me tell you what I'm going to think, okay? This is the owners doing. They don't want this to happen. These who been owning the teams, these teams been in some of these families since the 1920s. And they've been fighting black quarterbacks for 9 decades, going all the way back, right? 90 years. They've been fighting these guys as quarterbacks, black players as quarterbacks for 90 years. They've been keeping tabs on the majority increasing at least from 2020, but they ain't want to talk about it this year. The owners want this. But yeah, somebody got to sit down and think of the scheme. I agree with that. But that ain't they call. That's, hey, we decided at our owners meeting or when we communicate with each other, when we on somebody's yachts or we all in Milan somewhere. We can't let these guys take over. And that's where the communique comes from. Hey, we trying to think of what we could do to make sure we don't lose the majority at the starting quarterbacks to the black guys. We just don't want that. Point blank period. And yes, there are people got to sit down and think about it. But I ain't gonna tell you it was them. Hell, they damn pay grade too high. But then again, maybe it was. Somebody had to devise the plan, but the person that devised the plan is the same person. When you in a meeting, all the executives leave and go eat. And then there's a small team of people that do the grunt work. The people doing the grunt work don't make the decision on whether to do the grunt work or not. They have to show up ready to present tomorrow or next week. Agreed? This comes from executive and above. They tried it today with this management council and it's not sticking. Don't nobody care about that. Because as soon as you look at that, it tells you that scope is labor relations. It tells you that they will put there as a buffer, in my opinion, so the owners don't have to deal with grievances like the collusion. And they're trying to say, why do you need people to think for you? They ain't thinking for these damn owners. That's trying to muddy the water. So no, the management council does the grunt work of the owners. The hierarchy, I don't give a damn what it is on paper, but in terms of power and decision making, the owners. And they gonna tell Roger Goodell what the hell to do. And they gonna tell the management council to execute it. The owners, 32 billionaires. Roger Goodell's not a billionaire. The owners. Everything begins and ends with the owners. I'm curious about how Prime will manage the recruiters when they begin arriving at CU. That is very interesting. The whole thing is Coach Prime back at CU yet? Have y'all seen him on camera when they doing the practices? I caught a little bit of the receivers today, but I don't know if I saw him or not. Let me know if he's back, because I do find it interesting if he's not back yet. Hey Jerry, how you doing? It said, why would Shedeur need an agent when his dad has been in the business for 20 years? Right. And they talking about he didn't know how to navigate the pre-draft process. But I bet you if Arch Manning have an agent, it's somebody that they want to enrich because he don't need one either. I'm like, please. They don't want to admit that Shedeur and Arch Manning are both like legacy. They don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit that at all. And I don't know why they want to overlook that. The only fact they would want to overlook it is because it's hard to deny Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, with the same DNA, an athlete. How do you not draft him in the first round? That's why they want to act like they don't see it, because they locked him out of the first round and then they pushed him down from there. And I asked the question, how on earth does the Cleveland Browns draft him if he ain't even on the board? Because the owners had conversations. Hey Jackie, how you doing? The Steelers are going to fire Tomlin. They set him up, yep, to fail. Yep, they ready for him to go. He won a Super Bowl and never had a losing season. They said when this is an all-out assault on black leadership in the NFL. That's all this is. That's all it is. Oops, the Giants GM's daughter. Yep, that's what they saying. And I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all because he was in those rooms. He clearly, that's why I said they were all somewhere. They were all somewhere. So yeah, that's who I believe it is too. But they don't want to talk about that because they said right after the public humiliation stunt happened, that she was liking the post, and then somehow she had to clean up her social media. Mary Kay is in alleged what? No, I didn't know anything about that. I hit the light bulb for me. No, I didn't know anything about that. Boomer said everything and stood 10 toes down. I haven't heard or seen him since because I think he either facing a subpoena or waiting for a judge to issue it or something like that. Yeah. Mary Kay a part of the investigation too. That's why she quiet for the last few days. Well, they moved her out the spotlight and sound like they gave the baton to Ashley and they put Daniel Oyefuse out there. But I will say this to that. When that caller guy, the guy who was from the Cleveland area, like a fan, called in and was talking to Mary and the guy, the host of the Cleveland.com show, he was like, well, I was with y'all at first, but everything about this young man is a class act, you know. I think he real good or whatever, and I don't see any of those problems. And Mary Cabot was the first one. She said, yeah, we didn't see nothing like those other teams said. She cleared Cleveland right there for defamation. But we saw what Andrew Barry was doing, trying to treat Shedeur like he entitled, which is essentially with Pablo Torre and both Mike Florio are insinuating was told to them. They're gonna need some receipts. See, that's two people right there that would be on the subpoena list. Now, since you have so much information, let me talk to you. Yeah, they need to be subpoenaed because they what an NFL general manager? Which one? Teams. Which teams? You see, you can't just run around. You can't just run around defaming people and lying. You need receipts. Deny, delay, defend. That's the playbook. Facts. They are scrambling to find a way out. Facts. And I've been saying they getting their ducks in a row. Boomer wanted to say what the owner said to him. We don't want that entitled, but he called himself. Yeah, that was interesting. That's why I tease y'all and say, Gretchen, this is what I say. So what y'all think they called him? Get that entitled, nice curly head boy off my off my off my draft board. Mayor's owner of the Giants, head owner of the management committee, speaks for all owners. They hate NIL. That's probably why there's a committee now to try to cheat some of these guys out of their money. They ought to go to HBCU. That'll fix them because they don't have no counsel. That's what they ought to do. When they start tripping with their money in college, go and transfer to HBCU. And you're going to get your sponsorship over there and they don't have nothing to do, no counsel or has governance over them or anything. This is strictly about the Power Five. So go somewhere else. That's what they ought to do. Defect. Go somewhere else. Teach them a lesson. Turn that $100 million lawsuit by Eric Jackson into a nationwide class action lawsuit, Elaine. Our standing, according to Eric Jackson, is consumers of the NFL. We were injured consumers. Facts. Facts. He said people could just start a class action lawsuit. That's probably what should happen anyway. It says she quiet as a church mouse. Mm-hmm. No, Coach Prime is still at home. Bucky said he's still getting well. Okay. Coach Prime is not going back until second or third week in July. Oh wow. Okay. Okay. So he missed all of the camps and the 7-on-7, the Coach Prime, 7-on-7 and everything. The prime time 7-on-7. He must have missed all of that. Oh wow. Oh wow. Thank you, 22. It said, okay, Bucky and Darius be confusing me. Oh, what you don't know? I'm a part of something? What you mean? Oh, okay. I guess that's Mac. Okay. All right. I see. He was talking to 22. Mary Kay. So, she's being paid to lift Pickett and Dylan Gabriel up and hate on Shedeur. I agree with that. It sounds like I didn't have a chance to watch it today, but it sounds like they trying to go with Kenny Pickett as a starter. Flacco must be out, huh? Flacco must be on the way out. Or is it because we said that the competition is fake because Flacco's sharing a locker with Jerry Judy? Because why all of a sudden we not hearing about Flacco? Does anybody know? 68 of us, hit the like button for me, please. So I just wanted y'all to see, that the sources, the messengers putting out this information about Shedeur, or about the I guess the ruling doc this document that was concealed, but now it's available, both have an agenda where Shedeur is concerned. And what's coming up at some point within the next 30 days, there should be a ruling or some motion on this $100 million lawsuit. And nothing they said, in my opinion, sticks to that unless they're trying to send a message to the judge over the airwaves. That's the only thing that you could do. And they used an arbitrator, whereas this is going through the courts. See, to me, they got screwed because forcing you to use an arbitrator, right? I mean, who chooses the arbitrator, right? So it'll be interesting to see if within the next 30 days there is some motion. And then, if you want to know why now, just look at the messages in their agenda about Shedeur and what they're pushing, the narrative that they're pushing, which comes with entitlement. And he should have had an agent, and Coach Prime and the GM told me this. Yeah, if they uncover their sources, I bet $10 it's the New York Giants. So we're gonna get out of here. This was good, y'all. 58 minutes. Excellent. This was an excellent podcast. So we just gonna continue with this series until we have exhausted whatever we had to talk about. With unless if nothing else new comes out, we might start talking about what I want to talk about, reacting to some of these stories about Shedeur that's out here. This is a reactionary summer. That's what we doing. Summer of 2025 is all about reaction. Because as you can see, like with Pablo and Mike Florio, people want to put things out, right? They want their voice to carry weight, but they don't want to listen for the rebuttal. So that's what we are, right? The rebuttal. All right. So stay tuned, guys. We're going to get out of here. Thank you all for hanging out tonight. 70 of us in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow night. Let's see. Hey, Charlotte. You just joining us. Hey, Tina. Truth ain't true. Welcome back. Max say he had fun. Okay, good. All right, salute. No recipe needed. Yup. The arbitrator is employed by the NFL. There you go. All right. There you go. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Thank y'all so much. I'll see y'all tomorrow during the day. I'll probably schedule the live, so make sure your notifications are on. Peter said this was a great show. Thank you. Good night, 22. Thank you, everybody else. Have a good one. Thank you. Thank you, Isaiah. Have a good one. Thank you, True. Thank True. Thank you so much. Good night. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Be sure to join our daily live stream and listen up to What She Said Sports on the go on Spotify. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Stay for another video.